All right, guys. VTHO is pumping like crazy since the announcement, but that was kind of expected because smaller coins, once they get their first big exchange listing, do tend to pump a lot, and smaller coins do tend to pump a lot more than larger coins. It is time to sell VTHO if you haven't yet. Why? Because generally when those smaller coins pump, they also crash like crazy afterwards. So the thing is, like, yes, I know it's pumped nearly doubled by now, and maybe double by the time you see this video, but it will actually start, or has already started, coming down by the time you see this video as well. It happens all the time with Coinbase and Binance listings for coins that really aren't listed anywhere else, that have a very small volume and a very small market cap. But VET long-term is the investable asset. VTHO is not the investable asset long-term. That's only good if you're speculating over the short term. But the thing is, like, I want to talk about what I want to see for VeChain going forward. The thing is, like, the Coinbase listing for VeChain, the main benefit right now is not the price pump. The price pump is temporary. If you are a day trader or a swing trader, it's great for you. I'll give you that much. But over the long term, it's actually not the big benefit. The big benefit is the on-ramp and liquidity in terms of USD that the Coinbase listing actually gives VET. Ever since Binance.us, which is no longer a fiat exchange, they're a crypto-only exchange, people are going to find it very, very difficult to come into VeChain and the VeChain ecosystem. Remember, even though VeChain does have DEXs that are kind of inactive right now, but even if they were active, you still need an on-ramp to USD somewhere, and VeChain does not have that. Until now. Like, Coinbase actually has started trading VeChain at this time and VTHO at this time, hence why the gigantic pump. I know in some areas you still might not have it, but there are restrictions in some areas as well. Like, I think in some states you're not allowed to trade it. I'm not exactly sure what the jurisdictions and what the rules are in each individual state. I haven't really looked into that, but Coinbase has actually opened up VeChain and VTHO trading right now. And the liquidity is the primary benefit of that, which means, like, people have an easy USD on-ramp into VeChain, which means they have an easy on-ramp into the DEXs, which means they have an easy on-ramp into the ecosystem. And I'm hoping that will resurrect the ecosystem. What I want the foundation to do is place more emphasis on the ecosystem, a lot more emphasis. They need to budget way more VeChain, more than $20,000 or $30,000, because that doesn't really buy anything these days, into actually developing the ecosystem. And that's what it really needs for the coin to actually moon. Now, a lot of you are hoping that VTHO will moon because of today. VTHO is going to go back down after today. Like, that's not the asset that, like, you should actually be looking to invest in. If there are DeFi pairs, it's going to be VET as the DeFi pair. I mean, ultimately, the best the best result for me is they, like, resurrect VEX and it comes back up, but I don't really have too much hope for that. But I do want them to spend more money to develop new DeFi protocols in this manner, because now you have the on-ramp and people can easily get into VeChain via USD. Yes, people are gonna say, yeah, but there are always markets outside of the US dollar and outside the United States. That much is true, but you have to remember, a lot of the investment money for crypto, and I said this before, comes from the United States. If you don't have a US on-ramp, you're missing out on a lot of money. Americans have a lot more free spending money than most anyone else, with, like, any country with a decent population. Yes, there are a couple of small countries where people have more access money than the United States, but they have very, very small populations, and some of them are quite restrictive. Chinese people don't have nearly as much spendable money as American citizens. And plus, China doesn't really allow you to buy cryptos right now anyways, with the exception of a few guys in Hong Kong. And that's only for very few cryptos anyways. So the thing is, like, VeChain really needs to work on the ecosystem now since they got the US on-ramp. I think they need to allocate a couple $1 million to actually draw in developers to build specific DeFi applications. I know they're having a hackathon, but I'm not really sure what kind of apps they're actually promoting in that hackathon. They really, really need to focus on the DeFi apps, maybe the NFT apps, and a lot of the financial apps, because for VeChain investors, that's where the value is going to come from. Yes, the provenance stuff, the industrial partnerships, they're pretty cool. Yes, Shanghai Gas and Energy is using them to some extent. Walmart China is using them to some extent. The transactions are still there. And, you know, a lot of the food provenance in Europe regarding, like, salmon meat and fishing, they're using them to some extent. But as we've seen, despite all that, the VTHO burn really hasn't gone up. And like I said, I don't think any of these coins are designed for that kind of adoption to actually push the price up. You need DeFi, you need TVL locked in to actually have any kind of sustained long-term growth. And I do think like if the VeChain Foundation team recognizes that, if investors recognize that, they would actually allocate a large part of funds to build these DeFi protocols. They need that liquidity pool, and they need liquidity within the VeChain ecosystem itself. The thing is, like, for coins like Safe Haven, I do think the Coinbase listing is a huge blessing. It might not cause a massive pump right now, but it gives people much easier access to SHA via the VeChain ecosystem, because now you can just buy VET and trade it via the ecosystem for SHA, whereas before for US people and people buying with US dollars, you could not do that. So I would actually look at some of these ecosystem coins like SHA right now for like possible small cap investment opportunities, because I do think they have a lot more potential for growth right now that VET is listed on a Coinbase and has an American on-ramp. Although like these coins like SHA aren't directly listed on Coinbase themselves, and I don't see them being listed on Coinbase themselves anytime soon. Although that is possible because Coinbase lists a lot of garbage ERC20 tokens, honestly. So I could see them listing like the VeChain tokens. I don't think it's really going to happen anytime soon though. And because I don't think it's actually going to happen, it is going to be gotten through these VeChain dexes and VeChain ecosystem. So I do expect VeChain ecosystem volume to actually slowly come up after this, and that will provide great value in the next bull run. And it is really a huge blessing, if you haven't noticed it, if you are invested in like, you know, if you're actually invested in SHA or any other VeChain token. So the thing is, like, those things are going to be much more easily accessible to investors. And that might actually be like the crux of like investment for the VeChain ecosystem. I mean, like, it just makes DeFi a lot easier, and it makes people, American people, more able to actually come into DeFi for the VET ecosystem. And I think that's a huge, huge boon that like some people aren't actually recognizing for VET. So that's what I want to see. I want to see the company, I want to see the foundation allocate a couple $1 million to building the liquidity pools for VeChain and getting people to actually use the liquidity pools, getting more pairs open, hopefully some of the VEX pairs, getting more pairs open for DeFi, and that will actually get people to lock in value and push the price of the coin up, which I think is incredibly important for anyone that's actually investing in VeChain right now. So the thing is, like, once again, I know people are excited about the big industrial partnerships, but that's not what's actually going to drive price. It is going to be the DeFi that's going to drive price, and VeChain, the foundation, does need to recognize that and provide value for the investors. The other thing is, I do believe Bitcoin, altcoins have actually hit their bottom against Bitcoin. If you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, this is all-time Bitcoin dominance chart. And if you look at last cycle, like right now in the 4-year cycle, you take the date right now, which is September 2023, and you subtract 4 years from it. You go back into September 2019, and you look at the Bitcoin dominance. It basically peaked last cycle around this time. It was like around 69, 70, and then it came down slowly. There was one more peak at November, and that was pretty much equal or slightly higher. Well, actually just equal to the peak back in July of 2019, which have already passed this particular cycle. So from here on forward in last cycle, basically Bitcoin dominance just went down, and we're kind of like in the same graph in particular like this cycle. So I do think Bitcoin dominance has peaked at around 50% today based on this timeline. And if you actually look at it, as they got into 2020 and 2021 last time, as we get into 2024 and 2025, Bitcoin dominance is actually going to go down. It's definitely going to drop, like, you know, in 2024 or 2025, possibly down to like, you know, 40, 30, like 30% or less in the next cycle. I do not believe it'll actually bottom at just like slightly less than 40 this time. I think it'll go way below 40 this time, because like there are going to be new projects, and I don't think inflation is going to handicap the next bull run. So I believe like you're going to be looking at like maybe 30% or maybe even 25% Bitcoin dominance as we actually go forward. I do believe the alts are going to pump a whole lot more than Bitcoin as the bull run actually comes on, and that's going to drop Bitcoin dominance by a whole lot. the stable coins are going to replace some of Bitcoin as like trade-in, trade-outs for altcoins. So I don't really have that much concern for that. So the thing is, like, if you're into altcoins right now, right now is the time to buy. I think you probably have 5 or 6 months to actually accumulate altcoins at this huge price, but I don't think they're really going to be dumping against Bitcoin that much more than they are right now. So right now, yeah, that's why I believe that altcoins have actually hit their bottom against Bitcoin. It is time to accumulate right now, and the longer you wait right now, the more you risk in missing that altcoin bull run. I mean, if you just catch the Bitcoin bull run, it's not too bad because it'll still like probably quadruple your money or more. But if you're looking for the 10 or 20x, I think altcoins right now is definitely the way to go, because according to the 4-year cycle, altcoins have basically hit their bottom against Bitcoin. Now, I don't know if they hit their bottom in USD value, because if Bitcoin drops, altcoins will drop more. But overall, like in terms of BTC ratio, I don't know if you're going to get any cheaper than you are now. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.